WrestleMania, Ring of Honor, Stand and Deliver. We're going to try and cover as much as we can in today's episode of WrstlXtra. So stay tuned.
Yo, 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 yo. This is a WrstlXtra. I'm your boy, A Dazzle, the Black Wrestling Advocate, joined by my trios team, the Real House of Black, Mex, the WrestleManiac, if you will. Yeah. And of course, the omnipresent professor that is Gerard Bonner. We have entered into a new era, the era of the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. WrestleMania weekend was crazy. These two had the privilege of being in Philadelphia over the weekend. Guys, before we get into everything that happened on our screens, you guys just tell us of your experience over the crazy weekend that was WrestleMania weekend. Gerard, I'll go to you first. Just give us a bit of a rundown of your experience.
Yeah, so it's the first time I've been to Mania Week in a long time. And so it was an honor to be there. My first time actually working during Mania Week. And when I reference working, I was there doing commentary for All Caribbean Wrestling show called Philly Mania, which kind of kicked off the festivities on Thursday. It was a fantastic show. AJ Francis was there. Working in the show with some really cool moments. They asked me to cut a promo for social media with just to kind of, invite people to the show, one more thing. And they had the entire roster behind me, which was kind of nuts. And so, yeah, it was a crazy experience. And then kind of the thing that had the world talking was a shocking appearance of Patrick Clark Jr., formerly known as the Velveteen Dream, who got involved in the show. It was madness. It was pure madness. An incredible show. We saw a title change. We also saw the Pan-African World Diaspora Championship defended there. Suge Knight. Jesus, Suge D. I'm so sorry, Suge. Oh my God. Oh my God. He's going to kill me.
Come to All Caribbean Wrestling. Come to All Caribbean.
Oh my God. Oh, Suge is my brother, man. Woo. Suge D. Here's the problem. My brain was thinking about what happened after that, which was my trip to Wale Mania, where I got to meet, of course, Mex and several other great people who I'm connected with in the space of podcasting, content creation, all the things. Shelton Benjamin was honored that night, got to kind of hang out with him and meet him and a lot of other really cool people that night. It was just a very, very special time. And I think the week between connecting with people, working, the events themselves, it was almost like this week, if it couldn't do it anymore, re-upped my love for pro wrestling. And that's scary when you think about that, because I already loved pro wrestling anyway my whole life, but it's a new kind of love thing that's happening with this sport right now. And I think Mania Week is a big reason for it. Shout out to Women's Wrestling Talk. Got to hang out with TK Trinidad and Wrestling with Honey, and we had ourselves a good time as well. So it was just an amazing, amazing time. I highly suggest, if you get the opportunity to go to Mania Week, go. Now, I hope that WWE has not announced WrestleMania 41 yet, because if it was somewhere cold, they're reassessing after all things in Philly, because it was cold and rainy and all that kind of stuff. But it did not stop the amount of fun that we all had. So shout out to everybody. It was incredible.
Mex, just give us a rundown. You were very busy over that WrestleMania weekend. Woo! If you can fit it in to a few minutes, let us know how it was.
Yeah, it was again a really fun experience. I mean, if you would have seen the vlogs, we recorded daily vlogs over on Wrestlings of everything we've done, including our tumultuous journey of getting to Philadelphia, where we thought we weren't even gonna see the story get finished, let alone finish our own story of arriving in Philadelphia. Yeah, bags were sent to different states. Gates were closed earlier than they said they would be, so flights were missed. Like, yeah, crazy journey. But we got there in the end. Like you said, I had, you know, obviously content to create for Wrestlings around the vlogging and other shows that we produce on that channel, as well as I was doing guerrilla position stuff while I was there as well. We done a prediction show. I went to Progress. I went to Ring of Honor. I went to, of course, I didn't go to SmackDown on the Hall of Fame, but I watched those on TV in awe of Paul Heyman's speech. Watched it twice.
Incredible.
We were stand and deliver in the morning. Went to stand and deliver, and let me just be nice and say it was an incredible show, especially following Ring of Honor the day before. WrestleMania was very good, very cold, but very good. The Big E's brunch on the Sunday morning with hosted by Big E and Andreas Hell, where they kind of invite all the kind of black content creators, podcasters, people in this space to just unwind from, you know, the weekend, and then you gear up again later in the evening for night 2 of WrestleMania, which was incredible. So yeah, I worked again on Monday morning for Guerrilla Position, got to shoot within WWE World, which was something. That place is incredible. I've never been to you know, Access, so I think is what it was called before. Yes, this is the first one that's been called WWE World, branded by Fanatics, and it's just a museum of WWE. It's absolutely incredible. I was at the 2K24 booth shooting the podcast. WWE just brought in Liv Morgan for us while we were there. They brought in Piper Niven for us. And even just with that, you just see the talents that are coming in. You're thinking, and these people weren't on the card. Like, and along with so many probably others. We had Mark Henry and Tommy Dreamer and I forget his name. Yeah, these guys are shooting Busted Open.
Yeah,
they're shooting
probably Dave LaGreca. I imagine
Dave LaGreca, that's his name.
Yeah.
Across from me at the Funko station, I had Kevin Owens doing signings, and Xavier Woods was there. Angela Dawkins came in a bit later to do the I think it's like the Special Olympics signings that he was doing. We had John Cena behind us shooting with Pat McAfee, and then Cody Rhodes came. I was literally just surrounded, dotting around, trying to record a podcast, and my head was just on a swivel like this, just seeing stars being, you know, taken through by security and things like that. So really fun experience. It is a pricey cost, I guess, to the public, but I would definitely say it's an experience to at least go once in your life to something like that. And then I made sure I got on my plane home.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, I've literally just come through the door like a matter of hours ago. So this is gonna be me for today. This is my last commitment for WrestleMania weekend. I can get some rest for at least 24, 48 hours.
Yes.
Wow. Let's get into the action of the weekend. And of course, the biggest talking points was the 2 main events of both nights of WrestleMania. Cody Rhodes, The Rock, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, all involved. And I'm sure we've all talked about in some way, shape, or form over the last couple of days, just exactly what happened in on both nights. Let's get into that the main event of night 2. Gerard, me and you have spoken about this already yesterday on WWT post show yesterday. Mex, just give me your thoughts as you were in the stands. You were there in the stands. As first of all, Solo Sikoa comes in, then Jimmy comes in, then Jade comes in, then John Cena comes in, then The Rock comes in, then The Undertaker comes in, and how did you even? How have you got a voice right now with all the pops and the screams and all the rest of it as that was going on? Like, what was the experience like being there and seeing all of that happen?
It was fantastic, and it's what a lot of people have said should happen, was gonna happen over the last month or so. Like, you're gonna have to overbook this. You're gonna have to have all of the guys that don't like Roman, the guys that were in support of Cody, coming in and being involved. But seeing it play out, you know, moment after moment, music after music being hit, absolutely crazy. I think a lot of us, I guess, booked ourselves that it was going to be Austin in the position of Undertaker. And I was even more convinced because I don't know if you guys saw, I think on the afternoon of night 2, Triple H tweeted like a vignette of Roman and Cody at 3:16 in the afternoon. I thought, that's it. That's the icing on the cake. He's coming. Like, he is gonna be there. It wasn't Austin, unfortunately, but when the dong went up in the stadium, the place went mad. Like, and at that point, to be fair, it didn't really make sense. But we're here, aren't we? We're here already. So let's do it. And just the whole drama of it, pageantry of it was incredible. Roman and Cody even had a really good match up to that point. They've got a very good chemistry for people that this is their second match together.
Right.
Yeah, it was a really good match up until that point anyway. But just the drama of it all, and you know, the end result, it's like, you know, the payoff, and I feel the fans felt like respected. That we didn't try to draw this out for long. It didn't need to be or anything like that. The payoff was great. The scenes afterwards was great. You know, Cody being held aloft by all his allies, you know, inviting down the likes of Pritchard, Triple H, and all of that kind of stuff. Brandy Rhodes being involved as well was amazing. You know, because that's been a long time coming. You know, last time she was on WWE TV, she was Eden Styles, the ring announcer. So it's crazy. But just all around, like, it's just, you want to kind of relive it, sort of thing. Like, and I was trying to stay off my phone and not be capturing and just be watching and seeing stuff happen. But yeah, it was incredible.
Amazing. The biggest talking point in the lead up on the 2 nights, and the most talked about person, as much as we saw Roman Reigns as the champion, Cody become champion, the main man, in my eyes at least, and according to records and numbers and all the rest of it, was of course Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. Last night on Raw, he came out to Cody Rhodes and they had a little bit of an awkward exchange at a point, but then he's left Cody with something and said, you know, he's gonna go for a while. He'll come back. So this is the end of his last run, or his latest run in the WWE. It's lasted 3 months. Started with him kind of being announced as board of directors for the TKO group. In between, we saw the slap that was heard across the world. He's acknowledged Roman Reigns as his tribal chief. He calls himself the final boss. We see the Versace shirts and vests come back out and all the rest of it. He's been on TV shows, award shows, all of that. And set records. I believe, you know, the live shows, 13 live shows in the lead up to WrestleMania were all sold out. Gerard, just give me your view on the impact that The Rock has had in this 3 months leading up to WrestleMania.
It's undeniable. I mean, he's the biggest movie star in the world. He's one of the most beloved pro wrestling figures in the world. And he got a lot of people very, very interested in what was going on already. Now, I like to remind people, because there are people who want to solely credit what has happened in WWE to The Rock. I think The Rock added to it, but he only came back because something great was already happening. And I think it's important to understand that. You know, there's no denying his star power. I mean, you can't. And what he has brought to this has been a level of intrigue, because it's interesting. Every time his music hits, everybody screams. Everybody loves it. And then they remember, we're not supposed to like you. So they boo. I've never seen a person... So they call John Cena polarizing because you either love him or you hate him. But with The Rock, you love him and hate him at the same time. And it's very wild to watch this dichotomy of emotions play out every place he shows up. And so we got to see something that we don't normally get to see. The Rock, I mean, as the final boss, you know, like he's just in that space. And we got to see, this is not Hollywood Rock. This is not any other version of The Rock that we've ever seen. And so it was intriguing. It was something you could not take your eyes off of. And so, you know, it's amazing. This has been a special, special time. And the fact that he's telling us that he's coming back, that says a lot as well. Because in the past 4 or 5 years, he'll show up once and then we don't see him again. And then he might show up again. And we have a commitment from him that he is coming back, you know, and he's coming back for Cody one way or the other. He left us with, you know, another mystery. You know, a couple of weeks ago, we were saying, what did he whisper to Cody? Now we're saying, what did he put in his hands? I mean, we cannot take our eyes off of The Rock, and that is fantastic for business. So this has been an amazing run. These 3 months have been incredible. As great as WrestleMania was or would have been, he added something additional to it that made us go, we had to pay attention. So there's no denying this run from The Rock has been arguably his best.
I would probably say the exact same thing, to be honest. But the beauty of that, or the reason, I guess the main reason why we can say it's that, it was because of what he has done in the past as well. Because if it was simply just a guy that came out and did what he did, it wouldn't have as much impact. We probably would have loved it with there's moments and all the rest of it. But you know, his legacy is what, you know, exaggerates or magnifies what he has done in these last 3 months. To kind of piggyback off, you know, what you were saying about the whole love-hate thing, the most amazing part about what this man was doing over the last 3 months was when he kind of eventually kind of did the heel turn, did the slap and all the rest of it, done the whole final boss thing. It was crazy to follow him on social media because at one point he's shown you the video of him beating up Cody in the rain in Chicago, bloodied, everything, swearing, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
And then the next video, he's going to Target and giving out his new skincare range.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
Who can do that and yet still get booed and get cheered when it was supposed to? For me, that this is why this man is, to me, the greatest that has ever been in this wrestling space. Very few people can kind of have been able to kind of get that type of reaction. You know, it's like, it's either you're a face, it's either you're a heel. It's not both. Right. And he's done both so perfectly. Mex, what are your feelings when it comes to The Rock? Do you feel as though, this is probably a very difficult question to ask, or to answer, but if there was no Rock, would WrestleMania have been as good?
I think, you know what? I think we're gonna find out tomorrow. They said that right was this WrestleMania exclusive, the plans and the behind the scenes and all of that kind of stuff. And I think it'll be very telling. I saw one of the snippets from the trailer saying Triple H said WrestleMania was 80% booked in October. Yeah. Right. Now that's, you know, 3 months before The Rock showed back up, sort of thing.
True.
With main events as well, you probably know anyway what your main event was going to be, and it's the rest of the card that is still kind of subject to change and stuff like that. All I think that happened was, you know, The Rock became available. They said, right, it's time to do Rock versus Roman. The crowd rejected it because they wanted Cody to be crowned. They listened and they said, right, okay, now let's use The Rock as fuel, as an instrument here to make Cody and Roman as best as it can be. And The Rock, ego aside and stuff, clearly just said, all right, let's go with that sort of thing because it's the right thing to do. You know, the crowd are who are guiding us here, who are in charge here. And for me, that is the sign of, you know, a good leader, someone that understands the business, someone that understands, you know, what the fans want. I want to make the fans happy, sort of thing. Because what was it, 2015, we were in Philadelphia, Royal Rumble, Rock, Roman, main event. Roman just wins the Royal Rumble, and those two stand in a ring and get booed. Would we have wanted another situation like that, you know, this past weekend? Rock and Roman at the biggest WrestleMania of all time, WrestleMania 40, main event, standing in there for however long their match would have went, getting booed because it should have been Cody. So for them to respond was very good in terms of following, you know, the Cody path and not so much the Rock and Roman at this point. We've clearly got time for Rock and Roman. It doesn't seem like that's going to go away. We even look like we've set up Rock and Cody in the interim as well after Monday Night Raw. So I think The Rock was maybe just used very well as an instrument to kind of make sure we facilitate these other stories. Like Cody had to wait another year to kind of have his moment. The Rock might have to wait another year to have his. And you know, as long as we keep up the ability to tell these long-term stories very well, keeping fans engaged and stuff, I don't see there's a problem with it. You've built up the anticipation for it. So yeah, it was the right thing to do. And I think, like I was saying, The Rock's involvement and how key he was to all of this is going to be, well, it's been documented. It's out tomorrow on YouTube.
Of course. So we talk about the numbers, we talk about the long-term storytelling, we talk about you know, the WWE listening to the fans and, you know, thinking, okay, let's kind of switch things up a little bit. This was something we probably would have talked about towards the end of the show, but it fits nicely in here. We're now into this new era with Triple H, and we've seen already, even before The Rock was kind of, you know, came back and all the rest of it, numbers have gone up, live shows, all the rest of it. Merchandise sales, all that kind of stuff has all gone up. Gerard, what is your feeling when it comes to this new era? Is this something we've been waiting for? Could this have happened at any other point? Is this just something completely different to what we've ever seen before?
It is absolutely different compared to what we've ever seen before. And here's the reason why. I think most people never thought we would legitimately see a WWE without Vince McMahon. And even with all that happened with the sale of TKO, with Vince McMahon resigning, all of the things, nobody really believed that he was really gone.
True.
If you go back to, you know, summer of 2022, when he resigned from WWE and it looked like, okay, we might see something. And then by January 2023, when he made his power move back, you know, people just felt like, oh, there's no way he's gone. He's never gone. I think WrestleMania went to prove very intentionally, and even going back to the kickoff of WrestleMania, that we are in a new era. They have been saying it, but I don't know that people have really understood it until this weekend. And I think, you know, Paul Heyman's speech at the Hall of Fame, that is what really cemented it to a lot of people. Like, yo, Vince is really gone. Triple H is really in charge. We're really in a new space. And when you then look at the WrestleMania card, you know, the full level of diversity spread on this card, not just our Black wrestlers, which I know we focus on heavily here, but you look, there was representation of virtually every major people group that you could find, male, female, prominent matches. You know, I mean, it was incredible to watch. That happens only under the watch of Triple H. The freedom that has been talked about, the enjoyment, the fun, like all of these things that we're seeing, how we've seen commentary expand in a way that we never thought was possible. We saw this weekend, and Mex can attest to it, WWE stars at independent events. It was like, whoa. I didn't even mention that at All Caribbean, I'm sitting there doing commentary and I'm looking and I'm like, is that Caden Carter? Caden Carter is standing in the entryway watching this show.
Wow.
I mean, so it wasn't just, you know, oh, the cool agreement over at Bloodsport. WWE athletes were everywhere because there's the freedom to do that. So how this new era of does this happen without the entry of the new era? Absolutely not. And I think we are in a space where we're going to see some things like we've never seen before. Damian Priest cashing in, becoming the first Puerto Rican world champion in WWE since Pedro Morales in the 70s. Right? Like, these are the kinds of things that are happening under this new watch. And it's not just to tick a box. It's because these people are really, really good at what they do. You know, so this new era is going to benefit a lot of people. And it doesn't just happen just because. It's all about who's in charge.
This moves us nicely into the match that we saw, the 6-woman tag team match. We saw Jade, Naomi, Bianca Belair take on Damage Control. 3 black women standing in the ring together, come out the entrance together, that alone. But let me not go into it. Mex, I'm gonna let you talk about this one here. From start to finish, how did this whole thing feel? And what do you think this does, or this maybe even proves moving into this whole new era?
I think what they did here was, again, they're very on the ball with things now. Like, you know, we can say that, you know, they just put these together because of storylines and a lack of storylines, or whatever the case is. At the same time, there was a big push for representation within this match. You could see that. Even, you know, you had the 3 black women on one side, you had Japanese women on the other side. You see what I mean? So it's like it's noticing that we need to make sure we're doing this. We had a whole match which was based around 2 Latino factions going after each other on the same card. These guys looked great. The entrance was spectacular. I've seen it back. I couldn't see much from my seat of the elevated platform and them coming up and stuff. Okay. But I've seen Jade in her silver, Naomi in the gold, and then Bianca in the mix of the silver and gold. They've been called so many things in terms of the name of the group. I think they're going with Big 3 or something. Which
the Big 3.
If it is going to stick, if they are going to be a threesome for some period of time, I think that's cool. It's simple. It's effective. The streets, I've seen her calling them power buff girls, which I think is good as well.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah, but I think on top of everything, the match was very straightforward from start to finish. Naomi was the one that kind of, you know, took the beating before the hot tag came. And watching Naomi, and then obviously watching Jade, that is still very early in her career. Bianca is just an absolute star in terms of how she's taken to this and how good she is. The nuances of, you know, the timing and just controlling a live crowd as well. Her athletic ability, obviously, like this was just literally her. I don't feel like she even received much offense when she got tagged in. Like, it was just her hitting her greatest hits and just showing how great she was, setting things up so nicely for Jade. And Jade just came in, just pure power. Just like, I'm hitting you with this, I'm hitting you with this, I'm hitting you. Like the sell from Asuka, I thought was brilliant. The minute she got tagged and Asuka was in her paces and just came to a complete stop when Jade got tagged and Jade was coming in. I just thought, yeah, this match didn't overstay its welcome. It did what it needed to do. You know, everyone looked effective, including Damage Control. And, you know, for Jade, a first WrestleMania win, which is great. Bianca's streak continues. I think I saw something now that Naomi is now tied with the top women that have ever won the most matches at WrestleMania or something like that. So, you know, accolades
for the record, that's 4. So she's tied with Bianca and Charlotte.
Yeah, and Trish Stratus.
Not that anybody cared.
And Trish Stratus. Yeah. 4.
I think Trish. Yeah.
I'm gonna double check that Trish number.
Please do, but I've seen that a few times.
Because I I looked up some stuff and I didn't see that for Trish. But carry on.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just good. And I think more than anything, just through all the videos and stuff that have come out, they just seem to be having so much fun within the trio. Like you know, it's just literally like, I think they said in the press conference, Bianca, how Naomi was just so accepting of her. It wasn't like I'm taking another black woman's spot or something when I got called up. So that Bianca basically has that same energy for Jade. Of course, fans want to see the dream match, but it's like, for now, like, this is my sister, and I'm gonna kind of support her. And yeah, we're on two different paths, so we don't need to kind of cover one position. So yeah, it's just all good vibes between them, and I think it is necessary. It's not, you don't have to get to the dream match straight away. And with this current regime, we know we're not getting to that dream match straight away anyway. So let's just enjoy what we have.
And that's the beauty of it. You know, you see the camaraderie between them. That was very natural. You know, from when they were leaving the ring after the match, in the press conference, and everything else in between, any kind of videos, any kind of photos, all of that, you see the realness of this camaraderie between these three women. And as you rightly said, Max, you know, it's that whole thing of, you know, it's great to think that Naomi, in the space that she was in when it was, and she mentioned this herself, when it was just her and Alicia Fox and Cameron, you know, Alicia Fox was the only one that was kind of close to being on the top as a black female in wrestling. And then to have so many more come up behind her, including Sasha Banks, who she is good friends with as well. Then you get, you know, the generation of your Biancas as well. And now you've got Jade. And to see that these women are literally looking out for each other and have each other's back. It's not this whole, I was the first one here, what are you doing here? This is my space. I still have so many things to accomplish. You've accomplished stuff that I haven't yet. And, you know, I mean, all that kind of stuff that could have easily happened. And we've heard of stories like that, you know, with other people in the past. To see them doing what they're doing together is beautiful. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. As much as I was kind of against them all being in the same space, not out of, you know, them disliking each other and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of like, you know, let her do everything on that side, let her do everything on that side, then bring them together. But to see them doing what they're doing together, I'm just like, all right, I'll wait. You know what I mean? It's fine. Let them do it. I want to see it. It's beautiful to see. It's just amazing. Gerard, just give me like your idea when it comes to these three ladies in the ring, in terms of stories, in terms of the show being on SmackDown. What did you see happening, if anything, like with these three now moving forward? Do they stay as a three? Do they do their own thing separately, but kind of still kind of, you know, mention that they've got each other's backs? Like what do they do from here?
I think it's interesting, you know, I think it's interesting for them. All three of them obviously are fantastic individual stars. You know, anytime you bring that level of star power together, it's something that's undeniable. I don't think that this requires them doing everything together, you know, so I don't think it ends up being a faction in that regard. For instance, you know, Jade was on Raw last night having her, you know, initial singles match in WWE. And they weren't there, but that's okay. You know, I think this is one of those cases where you see things that happen outside of the ring bleeding into inside of the ring, and the camaraderie that the three of them have, being able to display that on camera is amazing. You know, so I think if either of them ever get into a jam, the other one's going to show up for them. But I don't think that this is going to require them having to be a trios team and, you know, having to do everything together. I think it was necessary to celebrate this particular moment together. In terms of what happens in the future with them, I think it's up for debate. I mean, you've got the draft coming up at the end of the month, which could separate those three from being on the same brand. And I imagine it probably will, you know, and so we'll see what happens there. But I think they needed to establish right off of the top the relationship that the three of them have, because we'll have to refer to this at some particular point down the road.
True. With the Kabuki Warriors still holding the women's tag team championships, makes you think that there is going to be a combination of any of these two ladies that will go after it?
Possibly. It could be an option. I think, yeah, the draft might be a thing within the next month. So again, it's just like, you know, like Gerard said, we'll probably see them be split. So I don't know if they want to do something with such prominent characters right now. If they do anything in the next month with the women's tag titles, it might be with people lower down the card, like the Caden Cars and, you know, the ilk of those actual tag teams. Isla Dawn and Alba Fire returned to TV a couple of weeks ago on SmackDown. So maybe they might use them in some type of capacity for the tag team division as well.
Speaking of tag teams, we saw new tag team champions crowned, 2 sets of new tag team champions crowned, as predicted by Mex, the secret writer for AEW and WWE. Obviously, we saw a 6-pack ladder match for the both sets of tag team titles. It was mentioned by Michael Cole about, you know, on the week of WrestleMania that, you know, until both sets were taken down, until then, that's when the match was over. We saw Austin Theory and Grayson Waller take down the SmackDown Tag Team Championships first. And then, of course, we've been waiting 52 years. Well, he's 52 years old, but we've been waiting probably since, I think it's 1999, I think his debut was in WWE, for R-Truth to finally have his WrestleMania moment by capturing the Raw Tag Team Championships, obviously alongside The Miz. We also know and found out that during his time off, he spent most of 2023 away from the ring. And during that time, it's crazy to think that this man could have very easily have lost his leg due to a tendon tear. I forget the specific terminology for it. But it led to an infection, about three operations, 3 surgeries in the space of 3 months. But yet this man at 52 years old, moving around the ring better than most guys half his age, finally gets his WrestleMania moment and becomes a tag team champion. Gerard, what did that feel like? It was almost like there were a few things at WrestleMania that we kind of knew were going to happen. But even when they did happen, it's like we never knew, or we reacted like we never knew. How was it when you saw R-Truth finally grab that belt?
It was a great moment. And one of the reasons that it was great is we've just been kind of watching him over the last few months really be one of the MVPs of Monday Night Raw and of WWE, whether it was, you know, him trying to figure out if he's actually part of the Judgment Day or not, and all of the things connected to that, then Awesome Truth and all of the fun things that he has been doing. And then on top of that, really being able to wrestle. You know, it's very, very fun to watch. And I think what happened with him was indicative of what we've learned about this new era. You know, there are things that seem clear to us as fans that historically just never happened and just didn't seem like we were being heard or things like that. But it makes a difference when you can see, okay, this makes sense to do, and it's done, and it's certainly appreciated. You know, it's a great, great thing. And so I felt very good. And I think, again, in watching all things that happened this weekend, it's totally in line and on brand with what we're seeing now in this new era. So congratulations to R-Truth. And I hope this reminds people that, in the great words of Aaliyah, age ain't nothing but a number. And I hope that that means that there will be less talk of ageism floating around in our sport. It should really be more determined on what you actually can do. And it's clear R-Truth is deserving of being a tag team champion.
Even speaking of ageism as well, like obviously we know that The Rock isn't in his prime age, but yet came out, did what he did. It was interesting to see. I think Gerard, you mentioned this yesterday on yesterday's show. It was interesting to see when The Rock and John Cena faced off, just how much better The Rock looked compared to John Cena.
Let me tell you.
But let's not get into that. Mex, you know, it's crazy to think that this man has gone through what he did last year and come back, and the match that he had was a ladder match, a very dangerous match for anyone, regardless of age, ability, all the rest of it, style, whatever you want to throw in there. Add to all of this the run up to WrestleMania, his dealings with the with Judgment Day, the t-shirt sales that were, you know, top t-shirt sales for about, I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks, all of that. Do you at any point do you feel there is more for R-Truth to do and to achieve in the near future?
I don't know. I don't know, because I think, like, you know, everyone has a place on the card, and it's not to put people in a box. You can work your way out of said box. But I think, again, you know, although he has proven now that even at, you know, 50 plus, you can still have your WrestleMania moment. It's not like the norm. It's not the norm. But the age trend happens in WWE, is a real thing. At the same time, Damian Priest, he's 40 odd. He's just become world champion for the first time. So yeah, there is the opportunity. I think he has the talent to. More than anything, with having this last few months, it shows that there's still a place in wrestling for these kind of characters. Triple H could have easily kind of discarded him, you know, not used him so much. People would have said, see, R-Truth is something that Vince enjoys, or whatever the case is. But he's proven that even in a product that's going to be more, I guess, wrestling focused, make more sense, long-term stories, there is still a space for him. But we just know the field around him as well is just absolutely crazy. You know, whether you're talking about a US title, an intercontinental title, the world title picture and stuff like that. At very best, because of his links to the Judgment Day, he could get a world title match out of Damian Priest.
Very true.
He could, and it could be a very good match. Like I said, I think he's super talented. I just think, unfortunately for Truth, he may, and this may be because of previously how he was booked, he may have gone far too down the road of comedy act that might be rescuable to the public, to say, all right, this guy could be a world champion, or this champion, that champion, whatever. But at the very least, whilst Priest is champion, and obviously they were even on screen last night on Raw together, you could get a world title match. You know, just a couple near falls, get people thinking that Priest is what's his face, R-Truth is going to do it, and then we'll see from there. But it's not impossible. But for R-Truth, it's probably very difficult for this to be any more than just a tag team run at this point.
And I don't disagree with that. I think as well, I'm kind of getting to, you know, sometimes we have to understand that even with Truth and his abilities, you know, him still being able to go out there and do his thing. And, you know, I've seen people, you know, rambling about, you know, he's still so good. He's only got a few years left. Give him a WWE title run, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I get it, but I don't think it's going to happen that way. And I think we have to be appreciative just for him to be in a space that he's in. And it's not in a, you know, consolation prize or anything like that. Right. Sometimes some people understand their position. You know, like in any sport, you know, if you play a certain position in football, or, you know, in basketball or whatever else, you stick to that position and you're very good at that position and you're needed for that position. You're not going to put your point guard as your center. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. You're not going to put your goalkeeper as a forward. Doesn't make sense. But we also recognize that those people in those positions are very great at what they do. And I think R-Truth is definitely in that space. And it's just great to see him being there. And I don't think we have to then start putting more expectation on certain people. It's fine to be where he is. Speaking of another person who's found their position, I'm so glad that worked. Oh my word. Speaking of someone else who has found their position, very much so, but this time very quickly, Samantha Irvin. it was announced just before Mania that she was going to call every single match on both nights. Now we also know that there is I forget his name,
Mike
the other ring announcer, Mike Rome. We also know that Mike Rome is also a ring announcer on SmackDown, but yet was not asked to do any ring announcing over the weekend. Samantha Irvin, her first time doing the whole 2 shows of Mania, and we've already seen the likes of Mike Buffer, who is probably the only world famous ring announcer in the world, talk about how great she was. Triple H has echoed it. I believe Bubba Ray has done the same thing. Even I think I saw a tweet from Enzo Amore, who said he's never heard her, never met her, blah blah blah. But while he was watching, he just, her voice resonated. Gerard, you're in this space. You know how difficult this thing can be, and what it takes to, be a ring announcer who is called upon quite often. Just how important is it for the ring announcer to do their job, and what difference does it actually make so that people understand?
It's interesting. You talked about people playing their positions and how important it is. If you want to know how much these roles like ring announcing and commentating play, find yourself in a space where someone doesn't do it well. And you'll see, I've been to some indie shows where there are ring announcers who are just either plain Jane or plain John, depending, or they are inauthentic. So they try to put on this announcer voice that you listen to and you're like, nothing about that resonates. The thing about Samantha Irvin that works so well, obviously she's a singer, which, and she's musically inclined, but she's passionate about wrestling. Like, this is not just a job where she punches in, does her thing, and goes home. She is completely vested into the product. So when she's announcing, she's adding personality. She's adding her love for the business. She's adding her connection to these wrestlers so that they're not like, I've seen announcers announce everyone the exact same way. And that doesn't work because it doesn't lend to their specific personality. So I remember hearing her announce, Gunther and the differences with everybody in Imperium, and everybody talked about how she announced Chelsea Green and all these are very unique things. And it adds to the character of who she's announcing. What was interesting to me was to watch her announce the main event on night 1 and watch all of them watch her. Like you recognize this level of greatness. And even when you go so far as to her emotional announcement of Sami Zayn winning the Intercontinental title, and my God, that video of her and announcing Cody, which during this time yesterday had like almost 9 million views on Instagram alone. Like, it's it was incredible. And I've seen some knuckleheads say she's overreacting. No, see, that the problem is when you're not passionate about what you do, then you find somebody who's passionate as overreacting.
Over the top,
by no means. She is hands down one of the greatest ring announcers we have ever seen. And I hope that in this era of wrestling where we've witnessed a 1,300 day from Roman Reigns, and now we're witnessing all of this greatness. Let's not wait until it's over before we acknowledge how great it is. Samantha Irvin is a national treasure. And I think, we've talked before about people who didn't make the WrestleMania card. It's not necessarily a knock to them, but WrestleMania should be reserved for the best of the best. It absolutely should. We shouldn't have these battle royals as consolation prizes just so everybody gets on the show. No, if you are the best of the best, you should be there. Nobody was surprised that Samantha Irvin ended up announcing every match at WrestleMania. She has been head and shoulders the one. So no knock to Mike Rome. He's good at what he does. but that just shows how great Samantha Irvin really is. And so shout out to her. And, you know, in the context of what we do here, let's consider this. A black woman announced every match at WrestleMania. And then a black woman announced every match at Stand and Deliver. All of the WWE shows this weekend, and she announced every show at Raw. Every WWE show was announced this weekend by a black woman.
And also, we had Coco Jones open up the show. We had War and Treaty.
The War and Treaty. So we sung all the songs, right? Like we're everywhere. And that, again, speaks to this era, and it speaks to greatness being rewarded. And I love when greatness is rewarded, regardless of what we look like. We just happen to be magically black.
True. And to continue that list of the music artists that were involved, obviously you saw Lil Wayne come out with Jay Uso. Meek Mill's song was played across all the vignettes at the start. The Weeknd, I think it's the third year in a row where his soundtrack was the WrestleMania soundtrack. You know, there's all these different things. Going back to Samantha and speaking on the reactions that she's been getting, it's interesting. You see the reactions, things like, oh, this is scripted. Why is she putting on this? Blah, blah, blah. Why is she crocodile tears? This, that, and the third. Let it be known, and it's been said by her and a few other people, that she purposely asks not to be told the results for, especially the main events, probably not every single one, but especially the main events and stuff like that. So I remember the first time The Rock came back, I think it was the one when he kind of done the whole speech of sitting at the head of the table. So just before this long run kind of happened, and she was just as shocked as everyone. Right, took her a while to kind of gather herself to announce that The Rock was here. Then you see, obviously, you know, the announcement of when Cody Rhodes won the championship on night 2. If that wasn't real emotion, someone needs to nominate her for an Oscar. Right. Because that was the reaction that she gave was so real. And when I first heard the kind of like the cracking of the voice and, you know, trying to announce it, I was like, is she going to get in trouble for this? But then I thought, you know what? It is what it is. And obviously you saw the reactions. Max, how do you feel when it comes to her rise? You know, we've mentioned before that, you know, when we know that she's in a relationship with Ricochet, and when Ricochet was kind of like not doing much, we said she might be his ticket to kind of, you know, get back on top. It hasn't happened like that, but at the same time, for us to even consider that to be a thing, you know, how have you seen her rise from, you know, starting out to where she is now?
She's fantastic. Like, honestly, I was laughing over the weekend because obviously as we went through preparing for Stand and Deliver, she was part of that first Trick and Mellow segment, you know, the About It one. And to be honest, I think that may have been our introduction to her on NXT. So it's just the three of them kind of doing what has now become that funny kind of awkward segment with what was being said and stuff. But I mean, even that was what, maybe 2-ish years ago now. You can see her rise from that to where she is announcing every match on WrestleMania over 2 nights. She came out on Wale Mania on the Thursday, and they said that she was on voice rest. Michael Cole had told her, don't come out here and do anything crazy because obviously you got the 2 nights to look after. And then she just takes to the mic anyway, does her own rendition of Razor Ramon's Bad Boy, the theme entrance, like, which was incredible. People are in the crowd losing their mind. That, you know, obviously we are tapped into what's going on and stuff. Maybe some others less so. People didn't even know that she could sing. There was people in that crowd that didn't even know that she could sing and just thought like, you know, this is some karaoke or something that she's doing and just absolutely smashing it. Like, she is just such a star. And when you can, you know, displace your co host, in your co-announcer, and take the reins for the entire weekend, that says something. Being a woman, being a black woman, I think, again, I can't look past this stuff and think that's the only reason she may be getting stick for this kind of stuff. Like Gerard rightly called them knuckleheads. It's like, and a lot of these same knuckleheads are the people that want wrestling to be uber real. Like, oh, this isn't real. I don't watch WWE because this isn't real. Blah, blah. Now someone is showing real emotion.
Yep.
You know, you want them to be like impartial and just be, oh, your new WWE champion is Cody Rhodes. Like, we heard from one of the goats of the announcing game. Mr. Buffer said that this was incredible, the emotion you put into it. So everyone else now sit down, right? Sit down, because those that know, Real has recognized Real here. Yep. So if you don't like it, you mean, how is this any different to when Mauro Ranallo used to lose his absolute mind on a takeover?
Right.
And we loved that.
Right.
We loved the emotion and that he was crazy, and you know, that birthed commentator cameras and stuff like that. Michael Cole has one now, and Samantha Irvin, they can see the amount of content they can get out of her, because, you know, again, she's someone that's super invested, like we've said. So like, let's not do this whole rule for one and rule for another, because you're showing your backside. Unfortunately, I have to say, like, you're just showing, like, you know, is it because she's a woman? Is it because she's black? Is it because she's a black woman? What's your issue here?
Right. And it's crazy to think that someone will argue with, as I've said already, the guy who is probably the only world famous ring announcer on the planet, for him to turn around and say something great about someone who's in the same space, and for people who have never ever done this thing to turn around and say, she's too much, she's over the top, this is fake, all the other things that they're trying to say, it just makes no sense. It just makes no. It's like me saying to The Rock, you're not good, mate. I've never wrestled. I've never been in a ring. I've never had to do what he does. And, you know, I mean, like, even just outside of the ring, all the stuff that he's all the films and blah, blah, like, who am I to say anything when I've never done what he does? It's mad. It's madness. It's madness. We've got a few minutes left. And apart from everything WWE, there were actually other things that happened in the world of pro wrestling. One of them, and one of them that I really want to kind of put a light on as well, actually, was Ring of Honor, Supercard of Honor. That show was amazing. Mex is smiling because he knows he was there. That show was phenomenal. We saw performances from the infantry who were competing for the ROH Tag Team Championships. We saw Queen Aminata in the final of the inaugural Ring of Honor Women's Television Championship. We obviously saw Athena become, or retain her championship and get to 50-0 as a champion. 500 days, I believe, will be in the next couple of days, in the next week or so. 500 days as champion. And also a star-making performance, and people are not talking about this enough at all, a star-making performance from Lee Johnson against Carl Fletcher for the ROH Television Championship. Let me get one of you guys to talk about him first. I'll get Mick to talk about that match first. Coming into that match, what did you expect from this match and from Lee Johnson specifically?
I expected a very good match. I think we got in the end a very great match. I expected Fletcher to retain, but there were parts in it that I thought, no, Lee Johnson's, he's almost putting on a Sami Zayn-esque performance here. That was a terrific opener, and he got a lot of time to kind of tell their story. And I felt like, for, I guess, a lot of us that aren't watching Ring of Honor week to week, obviously I was sitting there with the boys, and it's just like, right, Lee Johnson is someone that, if we're not watching Ring of Honor, we haven't seen for a minute, sort of thing. Nightmare Factory days, and then Factory, and then a couple other renditions here and there. And it's just like, right, we were speaking as this match was going on, and people might not want to hear this or whatever, but we were saying, obviously we know this guy with his Tyson Nightmare Factory, with the production line in NXT. When my contract's up, if I'm Lee Johnson, I am out of here. I'm out of here and I'm going to NXT, where he will thrive. He will like we're seeing what with Javon Evans and his rise to TV over how he's had like 2 matches on Level Up, and they've already kind of shown us that now next week he's going to be on NXT, or tonight, should I say, on NXT. That's Lee Johnson. Lee Johnson needs to make the move, because he's had a lot of good exposure in places in AEW. Is it enough? No. NXT will be the ground that really kind of, gets him to where he wants to be. Unfortunately, it's not going to be AEW. So, that was a really good match. I'm glad you opened it by saying the whole show was phenomenal. And if you felt like that watching it from home, whatever, I think that's good. I watched this show after watching a 3-hour Progress show before, so I was a bit drained. I won't even like those matches you picked out where our Black Stars lived were all really good matches. I was completely, I'm not even gonna, Dalton Castle and Johnny TV, I lost it, because what are we doing here? Why is it going on for so long? And it really sucked the life out of the arena at times, I think. But yeah, everything else that you mentioned, I mean, the Queen Aminata match had us basically near to tears. That never came. That never happened. What's the other match that happened? The infantry. That our blood was boiling when Wardlow ran in. Like, I couldn't believe that's how they were gonna do them. And then of course Athena's just business is resumed, isn't it? Like you just know she's just all about the right business right now, doing some great stuff.
Gerard, just give me your quick rundown of those three matches in terms of just how it felt to see those guys do what they do, and specifically as we've been talking for the last 3 or 4 weeks about this woman, Queen Aminata as well. Should she have won?
So to answer your question about those 3 matches, I'm very happy to see all of that talent, who I've had a chance to work with all of them. Lee Johnson, the infantry, Queen Aminata, I've worked with all of them, and I'm very excited to see their rise in this regard. Lee Johnson, that was the first match he's lost in months in Ring of Honor. Like he's really been killing it.
It was 8-0 before that match.
Yeah, he's really been killing it there at Ring of Honor with some fantastic matches. And I certainly agree with your assessment there, Max. In terms of Aminata and the infantry, I definitely feel like Ring of Honor dropped the ball on this one. Queen Aminata is clearly a star. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I'm not sure what putting the television title on Billy Starks does for any of the story here. I don't know. My hope is that Queen Aminata gets another shot at this title and she gets to take the title. She is the star. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And this is not being, biased in any way. She is a star. You look at her, you see her work. There's an aura that she has when she shows up. You want to be wherever she is. And that's not a knock to Billy Starks. I just think they made the wrong move here in terms of who should be the inaugural champion. And let me just say this. After the match the infantry had with FTR just about a week or so ago, after they pulled off that massive win against the House of Black, how in the world do you have them losing in their tag team title debut in Ring of Honor on pay-per-view? Another bad move. And I think that somehow Ring of Honor and the powers that be, they've got to fix this, because you can't go this route that you've been going, for instance, with Swerve, where you take us 9 months before he finally gets to his one-on-one title match. Like, what are we doing? And it's not making any sense. The infantry is hot right now. They were hot enough for you to put them on national television, and win, and then to push FTR, who there is no argument, they're one of the greatest tag teams alive. If You mean you're going to have Wardlow show up on Ring of Honor somewhere he's never shown up to screw the infantry? Bad business. Bad business. So they're going to have to do better because I'm not happy with that at all.
The one thing I'll say is I didn't expect the infantry to win just because of the kingdom and the undisputed kingdom and this prophecy and them having to win all the titles. That's why I didn't kind of trick myself into it, but I just thought like exactly like you said, Gerard. It's like you've just given them a spot on TV. They've taken FTR to the wire. So really and truly, how does it make sense that they're struggling with these guys? And you've kind of not told us, even if they were not going to win, they should have looked maybe more dominant. The match should have went for longer, like to just kind of Wardlow to come in and scatter the match and they get a pin and done. I just thought was just a bit, we're kind of back to the drawing board when you've built these guys up somewhat.
Right. Because quickly to that, I'm sorry, quickly to the point, the big problem here with Lee Johnson, Aminata, and the infantry is you have the chance to build stars and you're choosing not to build stars. If you don't have stars that you're building in this company, then who are we going to know your company for? And that's where they're making the mistake. You could have people invested in these new stars, have us walk through the journey. So when we get, a couple of years down the road, we can identify AEW and Ring of Honor by these people and not by X, WWE people or X New Japan people. But you got to be willing to commit to building stars. And those 3 matches were the opportunities for them to build stars, and they chose not to.
Very true. I think there's still, thankfully, there is still a space for that to happen with those 3 matches, with those 3 sets of people that we're talking about. I think for me, with the infantry thing, as Mex said, the match should have gone on longer. The infantry should have been more dominant. It then would have made a little bit more sense for Wardlow to come in and interfere. It kind of just feels as though that happened for no reason. There's a slight positive in the sense where we're thinking, okay, well, if it needed Wardlow to come in and interfere, then surely it means the infantry can beat them at some point very soon down the line. Again, same thing with Lee Johnson. I don't think I have no issue with him losing. It was a phenomenal match. It was a star-making match. I have no issue with what happened with that one. With Aminata, I'm very much the same as you, Gerard. I'm like, there was no real reason to put it on Billy Starks. And then what the little segment that they had afterwards, I don't know if it was on the show or on social media, with her mum, arguing with her mum and telling her mum, I've won the championship, and her mum didn't care. And then she's run over to Athena as, oh, you're my mum now. Like, what was that? It's stuff like that kind of makes this whole thing hard. But thankfully, there is still a space for them to fix all of those unfortunates. But is it going to happen? That's the big question. With all that said, we are at the end of the show. You have been watching WrestlXtra on the WrestleMania UK YouTube channel.
Can I interject? 15 seconds. 15 seconds. Congratulations to Trick and Mello, the first African-American men to main event an NXT pay-per-view during Mania weekend. So congratulations to them. What a showing. What a time. Yeah.
For real. And at the biggest attendance at any standard and delivery in history as well, on top of all of that. And Obafemi's match was phenomenal too.
Phenomenal.
Let's
wow.
throw that in there. But you have been watching WrestlXtra on the WrestleMania UK YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to see when this guy Mex puts out all his reactions, WWE, AEW, and everything else in between. I'm sure if there isn't already, there's going to be a hell of a load of content from WrestleMania. If not, let
me tell these people now. You'll be lucky to see me again this week. Next week I'll be back. This week you'll be lucky to see me again. But there is a hell of a lot of content on the Wrestling's channel, like we said,
exactly where I was going.
All of that kind of stuff. So yeah,
exactly where I was going. Don't forget to find Mex as well on the Wrestling's YouTube channel as well, and also see all the vlogs and everything from the Mandem as well as their weekly shows as well. You can find Mex on Instagram at WrestleManiac UK, WrestleManiac.uk, and on X WrestleManiac UK. You can also find him on WWE GP, Gorilla Position. You can find this guy, Gerard Bonner, on all things Bonafide. You can find him on his own show, The Faction Show, as well as WWT Live, and all of his commentary and broadcasting for All Caribbean Wrestling, The Nightmare Factory, IWE, Arshay Wrestling, Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling, and anything else in between where he decides to be, and I'm sure he'll let you know too. You can find me, A Dazzle, on Black Wrestling Alliance on Instagram, and every now and again on X, BWA Dazzle. And you can also find all three of us every single week right here on WrestleXtra every single Tuesday. We will see you again next week.